It had become my routine, a sanctuary woven from the threads of our life together. For 3 years, I adjusted to the silence that hung in our home like a gentle shroud, enveloping us in a world where words were sometimes unnecessary. Ben had lost his sight, and I quickly learned that our connection relied not on what could be seen but on the deeper currents of our emotions. At first, it was jarring, his diagnosis, the finality of it. The world outside our home continued to spin in vibrant colors and chaotic sounds, while inside, we carved out our own space filled with soft textures and familiar scents that told our story. I never wanted him to feel constrained, and so I chose to navigate this new normal with a certain freedom. I rarely wore clothes at home, allowing my skin to breathe in the comforting warmth of our shared environment. It was as if shedding my garments stripped away the barriers between us, inviting a sense of intimacy that I hoped would ease his burden. I thought that perhaps, by embracing my natural state, I could help him feel less alone in his darkness. I would move about the house with a kind of fluidity, feeling the coolness of the floors beneath my feet and the gentle caress of the air against my skin, while Ben settled into a routine of his own. He would sit in his favorite chair by the window, listening to the world outside. I could see the way his brow furrowed in concentration as he focused on the sounds of laughter from children playing, the rustle of leaves in the breeze, or the distant hum of traffic. I would often hum softly to myself, filling the space with my voice as I moved from room to room, and he would smile in response, a soft, serene expression that reminded me of our early days together. Our mornings were often quiet, and I found comfort in the familiarity of the rituals we had established. I would prepare coffee, the rich aroma wafting through the air, guiding him from his dreams into the day. He would always comment on the sound of the coffee maker, his ears tuning into the rhythmic gurgle as if it was music meant only for him. I would stand close to him while he sipped, our shoulders brushing, my heart swelling with affection as I watched him relish those moments. The intimacy of those shared breakfasts was intoxicating, and I cherished every word he spoke, every smile he gave, even if he couldn't see the light dancing in my eyes. I often caught myself wondering what he saw when he envisioned me, if he pictured my hair cascading down my shoulders or the gentle curve of my smile. I hoped that my choice to forego clothing at home brought him some comfort, a reminder that our connection ran deeper than the surface. It felt as if I was shedding layers of insecurity, embracing a vulnerability that mirrored his own in ways I couldn't articulate. On afternoons, I would sit beside him and read aloud from his favorite books, my voice flowing over the pages, breathing life into the characters that danced within the confines of those stories. I would pause often, letting him feel the weight of the narrative between us, his fingertips tracing the pages as I read. It was during these moments that I felt a profound sense of togetherness, the words wrapping around us like a warm blanket. Ben would sometimes interject, offering his own insights, his imagination painting vivid pictures that he could no longer see but could still conjure with a memory that lingered just beneath the surface. His laughter would bubble up, filling the room with a brightness that chased away the shadows, and I would find myself lost in the warmth of his presence, feeling as though we were the only two people in the world. Yet, there were days when the weight of his condition pressed down on me like a heavy fog, and I could see the struggle etched on his face, a silent battle that waged beneath the surface. I wanted to be his anchor, to shield him from the world's cruelties, but I sometimes felt helpless, caught in the currents of our reality. I would catch myself retreating into my own thoughts, wondering if I was doing enough, if my efforts to create this sanctuary were enough to combat the isolation he faced. I would often step outside, feeling the sun on my skin, the vibrant colors of the garden calling to me, and I would long to share that with him. I felt torn between wanting to experience the beauty of life and knowing that he would never see it again. It was during those moments of self-doubt that I reminded myself of the strength of our bond, a tether that connected us despite the obstacles. Evenings would fall softly upon us, and as twilight wrapped the world in its gentle embrace, we would find comfort in our shared silence. I would often prepare dinner, the aromas of garlic and herbs wafting through the air, filling our home with warmth. Ben would sit nearby, listening to the clatter of pots and pans, his presence a comforting constant. I relished those moments when I could feel his gaze upon me, even if I was unaware of what he saw. I would twirl around the kitchen, lost in the rhythm of preparing our meal, the very act of cooking becoming a dance that brought us closer together. After dinner, we would sit on the couch, often wrapped in a blanket, sharing stories, or simply existing in that peaceful space, allowing our hearts to communicate in ways that words could not capture. Life had taken on a rhythm that felt both beautiful and bittersweet, a blend of joy and sorrow that permeated every corner of our existence. I realized that I had begun to redefine my own sense of self within this landscape of love and loss, finding strength in my vulnerability. I was learning to embrace my body, my spirit, and the way we intertwined in this life we had built together. And so, the days flowed into one another, a tapestry of shared moments that spoke of resilience and love. I was determined to protect the sanctuary we had created, nurturing our connection in whatever way I could, hoping that in my nakedness, both literal and metaphorical, I could help Ben find comfort and strength in our intertwined lives. The day of Ben's appointment arrived, and I remember feeling a mix of anticipation and anxiety as I made my way to the clinic with him. He had been going for checkups regularly, and though I had grown accustomed to the routine, there was something different about this visit. As we drove through the familiar streets, I caught glimpses of the vibrant world outside, children playing in the park, couples walking hand in hand, and the sun casting a golden hue over everything. I couldn't help but wonder what it must be like for Ben, who had been blind for so long, to hear the laughter of children and feel the warmth of the sun without being able to see its brilliance. When we arrived, the clinic was bustling with patients and staff, the air filled with a mix of antiseptic and the faint aroma of coffee from the waiting area. Ben seemed calm, but I could sense the nervous energy radiating from him, a tension in his posture that betrayed his otherwise composed demeanor. I held his hand tightly as we navigated through the waiting room, seeking a quiet corner to sit and wait for his name to be called. It was an odd sensation, the intertwining of our fingers, a reminder of the connection we had built over the years despite the challenges we faced. I tried to focus on the sound of the receptionist's voice as she called out names, but my mind was racing with thoughts of what the doctor might say. What if there was no change? What if the news was bad? I wanted so desperately for him to be able to see again, to experience the world in a way that had been denied to him for far too long. After what felt like an eternity, Ben's name was finally called, and I stood up, brushing my hand against his shoulder as we made our way to the examination room. The doctor greeted us with a warm smile, and I could feel the hope building within me. As he spoke, I watched Ben's face closely, searching for any signs of what might be happening behind the carefully guarded expression. The doctor asked him about his symptoms, and Ben responded with clarity, recounting the changes he had noticed in his other senses. I could see the glimmer of excitement in Ben's eyes as the doctor explained the new procedures and treatments that had been developed. My heart raced as I listened, clinging to the possibility that this could be the moment we had both been waiting for. The conversation flowed seamlessly, and it wasn't long before the doctor's words began to take shape into something I could barely comprehend. "Ben, I have some exciting news," he said, his voice steady yet filled with warmth. "Your vision has returned. You can see again." Time stood still in that moment. The room faded away, and all I could focus on was the look of disbelief that washed over Ben's face. I could see the tension dissipating as hope began to bloom in his heart. His eyes widened, and I could almost hear the gears turning in his mind as he processed the implications of what the doctor had just told him. I wanted to leap for joy, to shout and celebrate this miracle, but instead, I found myself holding my breath, my heart swelling with a mixture of elation and trepidation. Would he be able to adjust? Would he feel overwhelmed by the flood of sights he had missed? The doctor continued explaining the next steps, outlining a plan for Ben to ease into this new reality. I could feel Ben's hand tighten around mine, and I squeezed back, anchoring him as we stood on the precipice of change. After the consultation, we stepped outside, the sunlight enveloping us in a warm embrace. I looked up at the sky, its blue expanse stretching endlessly above us, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of hope. "I can see," Ben whispered, almost in disbelief, as we made our way to the car. His voice was barely above a whisper, but the words echoed loudly in my heart. I wanted to ask him what he saw, to pull the words from his lips and capture every detail of this newfound reality, but I held back, allowing him the space to process his thoughts. Instead, I opened the car door for him and watched as he settled into the passenger seat, a mixture of excitement and anxiety playing across his features. The drive home felt different. As I navigated familiar streets, I couldn't shake the sense that everything was about to change. I stole glances at him, wanting to see the wonder reflected in his eyes, but he stared out the window, lost in thought. I could only imagine the flood of memories crashing over him, the moments he had missed, the beauty he had longed to experience. I parked the car in our driveway and took a moment to gather myself before stepping out. I felt an overwhelming urge to protect this new reality, to ensure that he could navigate it at his own pace. As we walked inside, I paused at the threshold, taking in the familiar scent of home-cooked meals, the faint smell of laundry detergent, and the remnants of the candles we lit each evening. I wanted to shout that he could finally see it all, but I refrained, wanting to let the moment unfold in its own time. Ben stepped into the living room, and I watched as he scanned the space, his expression shifting from curiosity to wonder. I felt my heart race, a mixture of pride and apprehension swirling within me. I wanted to rush to him, to share the joy of this moment, but I hesitated, sensing that he needed to absorb everything around him. I moved quietly, allowing him to take it all in. I thought of how I had stripped away my clothes to create an atmosphere of comfort, a way to connect with him in a world that felt increasingly distant. Now, I wondered if he would view me differently, if my choice had helped him feel free or if it would complicate this new chapter. As he turned to face me, I caught my breath. There was something beautiful in his gaze, a depth of emotion that transcended words. "It's incredible," he said, his voice thick with emotion. I stepped closer, feeling the warmth of his presence, and waited for him to continue. I never thought I would experience this again. I felt a tear slip down my cheek, a testament to the relief flooding my heart. I reached for his hand, intertwining our fingers, and we stood there together, a moment suspended in time, the air thick with unspoken promises. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over everything, I realized that we were on the brink of a new beginning. I could see the world reflected in his eyes, and I knew that whatever came next, we would face it together, hand in hand. The days following Ben's revelation were a whirlwind of emotions, each moment layered with excitement and uncertainty. I had always imagined the moment he could see again, but the reality was far more complex than I could have anticipated. Our home, once a cocoon where we navigated life together in our own unique way, now felt like an expansive world full of endless possibilities. Ben was eager yet cautious, stepping into this new chapter with a mix of wonder and trepidation. Each morning, he would wake up, stretch, and look out the window as if he were seeing the sunlight for the first time. I would stand by his side, holding my breath as he took in the colors of the sky, the vibrancy of the trees swaying in the breeze, and the laughter of children playing in the yard across the street. I watched him rediscover the beauty of our surroundings, and it filled my heart with an indescribable joy. Yet, alongside that joy came moments of vulnerability. There were days when the reality of his regained sight overwhelmed him. One afternoon, we sat together on the couch, and he suddenly fell silent, his gaze fixed on a patch of sunlight filtering through the window. I sensed the shift in the atmosphere, the way his smile faded as the weight of memories washed over him. "Amelia," he said softly, his voice breaking, I didn't realize how much I had missed. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach, recognizing the complexity of his feelings. I had often taken for granted the beauty of everyday life, but for him, every detail was a revelation. "What do you see?" I asked gently, hoping to draw him back into the present. He turned to me, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Everything," he whispered, "and nothing. It's beautiful, but it hurts." I reached for his hand, squeezing it tightly as I leaned closer. "It's okay to feel that way. You've been through so much." He nodded, but I could see that he was still grappling with the emotions that surged within him. I wanted to offer him comfort, but I knew that this was a journey he had to navigate himself. In those moments of silence, we communicated without words, the weight of our shared experiences binding us together in a way that felt both fragile and resilient. We were rediscovering each other, learning how to express love in this new reality where sight and sound intertwined. As the days passed, I encouraged him to explore the world beyond our home. I wanted him to experience everything, the colors, the textures, the chaos of life outside our doors. One Saturday, I suggested we take a trip to the local park. Ben hesitated at first, a flicker of apprehension crossing his face, but I could see the glimmer of excitement lurking just beneath the surface. "Let's do it," he said, his voice steady. I couldn't contain my smile as we made our way to the car. The drive felt electric, a palpable energy coursing between us as we ventured into the outside world. When we arrived at the park, I felt a rush of exhilaration. The laughter of children echoed in the air, the bright hues of flowers danced in the breeze, and the sun cast a golden glow over everything. I took his arm and guided him toward the entrance, and he seemed to soak in every sound and scent with eager curiosity. As we strolled along the winding paths, I watched him closely. I wanted to see the world through his eyes, to understand the depth of his emotions as he took in the vibrancy around him. We paused by a playground, the laughter of children ringing out like music, and I could see Ben's expression transform as he listened. "It's incredible," he said, his voice a mix of awe and nostalgia. "I can hear them so clearly." I smiled, watching him revel in the moment. We spent hours walking, talking, and simply existing in this new reality together. Ben pointed out the details he noticed, the way the sunlight flickered through the leaves, the brilliant colors of flowers, and the way shadows danced across the grass. He had a newfound appreciation for the world that surrounded him, and I felt a sense of pride swell within me. In those moments, it was as if we were both learning to see again, rediscovering the beauty of life through a shared lens of love and resilience. However, not every moment was easy. There were times when Ben's frustration bubbled to the surface, moments when he would stumble over his own feet as he tried to navigate the world he had been absent from for so long. I remember one afternoon when we were walking through the local market, the bustling crowd swirling around us. The sense of fresh produce filled the air, but Ben's eyes darted around, overwhelmed by the sights and sounds. Suddenly, he bumped into a display of oranges, sending them rolling across the ground. "Damn it," he exclaimed, his voice filled with exasperation. I rushed to his side, instinctively placing my hand on his arm. "It's okay, love. Just take a breath." I watched as he closed his eyes, his hands clenching into fists as he took a moment to regain his composure. I thought I could handle it better," he admitted, his voice laced with vulnerability. "It's okay to feel overwhelmed," I reassured him gently. "This is all new. You're doing great." Slowly, he opened his eyes, and I could see the determination creeping back into his gaze. He smiled at me, a mixture of gratitude and acceptance, and together we gathered the oranges, laughing at the little mishap. Those moments of struggle, though challenging, became opportunities for growth and understanding between us. We learned to navigate the ebbs and flows of this new reality, discovering how to support each other through the complexities of life. Ben's vision was a gift, but it also came with challenges that we were learning to face together. As we continued to embrace this journey, we found ourselves redefining our relationship in ways I never expected. Ben's regained sight allowed him to see not only the world around him but also the depths of our connection. I could feel a shift in our intimacy, a newfound openness that blossomed as we explored this terrain together. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, I turned to him, sensing the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. "You know, I've never seen you this way before," he said, his voice low and earnest. "I can see the way you light up when you talk about things you love." My heart raced at his words, a warmth flooding my chest as I realized how deeply he was observing me now. It was as if every glance and every smile held an added significance, a layer of intimacy that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. I wanted to dive deeper into that connection, to explore the new dynamics that had emerged between us. The more he saw the world, the more he seemed to see me, and it left me breathless. "I've always loved you, but now," he paused, searching for the right words, "it feels different. Like I can truly appreciate everything about you." His honesty washed over me, and I felt a lump form in my throat. I wanted to express my feelings too, to tell him how much his regained sight had changed my perception of our love, but the words felt heavy. Instead, I leaned closer, resting my head against his shoulder, letting the silence speak for us. In that moment, I understood that we were embarking on a journey that went beyond sight. We were rediscovering each other in ways that transcended the physical. Each day was a new exploration, a new layer of understanding that we were peeling back together. I could see the beauty in his eyes, the love that had always been there but now had the chance to blossom in the light. With every shared laugh, every tender moment, and every vulnerability we confronted, we were redefining what it meant to truly see each other, and it was nothing short of magical. As the weeks turned into months, the rhythm of our lives began to shift once more, adapting to the reality of Ben's regained sight. The initial thrill of rediscovery had settled into a comforting routine, yet beneath the surface, I could sense the complexities that came with this newfound normalcy. We were no longer just navigating the challenges of blindness, we were learning to balance the joys and struggles that came with a fresh perspective on life. I watched as Ben continued to explore the world with wide-eyed wonder. Each outing felt like a small adventure, a chance for him to soak in the colors and shapes he had longed for during his years of darkness. I could see the delight in his face as he strolled through art galleries, marveled at the intricate details of paintings, and lost himself in the colors that danced across the canvases. There were moments when I would stand back, watching him absorb the beauty around him, and my heart would swell with pride. It was as if he was experiencing a rebirth, shedding the limitations of his past and embracing the vibrant tapestry of life. Yet, with each new experience came moments of uncertainty. There were days when the sheer volume of stimuli overwhelmed him, and I could see the shadows of doubt flickering across his features. One rainy afternoon, we decided to visit the local botanical garden, a place filled with lush greenery and vibrant flowers. The air was fragrant with the scent of blooming jasmine and the rich earth beneath our feet. I felt a thrill of excitement as we entered the garden, eager for him to experience the beauty that had long captivated me. But as we walked deeper into the gardens, I noticed Ben's brow furrowed in concentration, his eyes darting around as if trying to take in every detail at once. The colors seemed to swirl together in a dizzying array, and I could sense his struggle to process it all. "Breathe, love," I whispered, gently guiding him toward a nearby bench. We sat for a moment, the sound of raindrops pattering against the leaves creating a soothing rhythm around us. "It's so beautiful, but I don't know if I can handle all of it at once," he admitted, his voice tinged with frustration. "I want to see everything, but it feels overwhelming." I nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "It's okay to take your time," I reassured him. "We don't have to rush. Let's focus on one thing at a time." Slowly, I guided his attention to a cluster of vibrant tulips nearby, their colors radiating with life. "Look at the way the colors blend together," I said softly, watching as he turned his gaze toward them. "Can you see how they dance in the light?" He took a deep breath, his eyes softening as he focused on the flowers. "Yes," he replied, a hint of a smile forming on his lips. "They're stunning." In that moment, I realized that our journey wasn't just about him learning to see the world, it was also about him learning to navigate his emotions within that world. As the months unfolded, we continued to face these challenges together, forging a deeper connection as we explored the delicate balance of sight and sensitivity. With each shared experience, I found myself falling in love with him all over again, witnessing not just the man who could see, but the man who was learning to embrace vulnerability and emotion. One evening, as we settled onto the couch after dinner, I sensed a shift in the atmosphere. Ben had been quieter than usual, his gaze distant as he stared at the wall opposite us. "What's on your mind?" I asked gently, shifting closer to him. He sighed, the weight of his thoughts heavy in the air. "Sometimes I feel like I'm living in two worlds," he admitted. "There's this incredible beauty around me, but then there's also the reality of what I lost. It's like I'm constantly reminded of the darkness I came from." My heart ached at his words. I wanted to reach into the depths of his emotions and pull him closer, to shield him from the pain he felt. "You're allowed to feel both," I said softly. "You can cherish the beauty while also honoring your past. They're part of who you are." He nodded, a flicker of understanding passing across his face. "It's just hard sometimes," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I took his hand, intertwining our fingers, grounding him in the moment. "You don't have to carry that weight alone. I'm here with you, every step of the way." As the weeks progressed, I witnessed Ben's journey becoming one of transformation. He began to embrace the complexities of his emotions, acknowledging both the joy and sorrow that coexisted within him. It was as if the act of seeing had opened not just his eyes but also his heart, allowing him to connect with the world in ways he hadn't thought possible. We continued to explore together, visiting museums, going on hikes, and even attending live music events. Ben's laughter filled the air as he engaged with the vibrant energy around him, and I felt a warmth spread through me as I watched him flourish. Yet, beneath the surface, I knew he still grappled with the remnants of his past. I admired his strength, but I could also see the moments of vulnerability that surfaced. One afternoon, while sorting through some old photographs, I stumbled upon a picture of us from years ago, taken on a day when we had explored the same botanical garden. The memory flooded back, a snapshot of a simpler time filled with laughter and carefree moments. I glanced over at Ben, who was leaning against the counter, his brow furrowed in concentration as he sorted through a stack of bills. I felt a pang in my chest, longing to share that memory with him. "Hey, look at this," I said, holding up the photograph. He turned to me, his expression shifting from focus to curiosity as he approached. "What's that?" I handed him the picture, watching as his eyes scanned the image. A smile broke across his face as recognition set in. "Wow, that was such a great day." But I could see a flicker of sadness behind his eyes as he continued to stare at the photograph. "I remember how the flowers smelled, how vibrant everything felt," he said, his voice softening. "But now it feels like I'm always chasing after what I lost." The weight of his words hung in the air, and I reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. "You're not chasing after anything, love. You're creating new memories, new experiences. Every moment you embrace is a testament to your strength." Ben looked at me, his eyes searching mine for reassurance. "But what if I can't ever truly let go of the past?" I paused, gathering my thoughts before responding. "The past is part of you, but it doesn't define you. You can honor it while also embracing the present. You're not alone in this, I'm here for you." He took a deep breath, and I could see the tension begin to ease in his shoulders. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice filled with sincerity. "I don't know what I would do without you." In that moment, I felt a surge of love for him, a love that transcended the physical, rooted deeply in our shared experiences and understanding. As we continued to navigate this journey together, I realized that our bond was evolving, deepening in ways I never could have anticipated. I could see the beauty of his resilience reflected in his eyes, and I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the love we shared. Our lives were intertwined in a dance of light and shadow, and with each step we took together, I knew that we were creating something beautiful, a tapestry woven from both our joys and our struggles. Each day was a reminder of our strength, our connection, and the profound love that had brought us together in the first place. As summer rolled into autumn, the days grew shorter and the air crisp with the promise of change. The trees began to shed their vibrant leaves, painting the ground in hues of gold and crimson, a sight Ben had eagerly anticipated. The beauty of the changing seasons became a topic of conversation between us, a reflection of the transitions we were experiencing in our lives. I could see how much he loved the outdoors, and I felt a sense of pride in introducing him to the breathtaking scenery that surrounded us. We often took long walks in the park, where the falling leaves created a crunchy carpet beneath our feet. Ben seemed to revel in the sensory experience, the sound of leaves rustling in the wind, the cool breeze brushing against our skin, and the earthy scent of nature preparing for winter. But amidst the joy of these moments, there lingered an undercurrent of tension. I could sense that Ben was still grappling with the emotional weight of his newfound sight. He was more aware of the world around him than ever before, but with that awareness came the stark reminders of the time he had lost. I often caught him staring off into the distance, a pensive look crossing his face as if he were lost in thought, grappling with the complexities of his emotions. One evening, as we returned from a particularly beautiful walk, I decided to confront what I had sensed brewing beneath the surface. We sat on the couch, the soft glow of the lamp illuminating the room, and I turned to him, my heart pounding with the urgency of my thoughts. "Ben, I've noticed you seem a bit distant lately. Is everything okay?" He sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair. "I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm stuck between two worlds, the one I used to know and the one I'm trying to embrace now." I nodded, understanding his struggle. "It's okay to feel that way. It's a lot to process. But you're not alone in this. I'm here for you, every step of the way." He looked at me, and for a moment, I could see the vulnerability in his eyes. "I just wish I could shake this feeling of loss," he admitted, his voice tinged with sadness. I want to enjoy what I have now, but I can't help but mourn what I missed. I reached for his hand, holding it tightly in mine. It's completely normal to feel that way. You've been through so much, and it's okay to take your time to grieve. But don't let that overshadow the beauty of what's in front of you. There's so much to explore and experience together. He nodded, and I could see the tension begin to ease in his shoulders. I want to try. I really do. It's just hard. I squeezed his hand, letting him know he didn't have to carry that burden alone. How about we make a list of things you want to do this autumn? Things you've always wanted to experience now that you can see. A spark of interest lit up his eyes. That could be fun, he said, a hint of excitement creeping into his voice. We spent the next hour brainstorming ideas, laughing as we imagined the adventures ahead. Pumpkin picking, hiking through the changing leaves, visiting a local vineyard, and attending a harvest festival became our goals for the season. Each suggestion felt like a promise, a way to create new memories that would help him embrace the present while honoring the past. Over the next few weeks, we dove into our autumn bucket list with enthusiasm. The days felt rich with purpose as we explored new places and created experiences that would help Ben move forward. We visited a pumpkin patch, where he delighted in the various shapes and sizes of the pumpkins, running his fingers over the smooth surfaces and reveling in the vibrant orange and green hues. The laughter of children echoed around us, and I watched as he lost himself in the simple joy of choosing the perfect pumpkin. This one, he exclaimed, holding up a large, round pumpkin. It feels just right. The warmth of his smile melted my heart, and I realized how much these moments meant to both of us. We carved our pumpkins that evening, a ritual I had always loved, and as we worked side by side, I could feel the joy radiating between us. The flickering candlelight cast playful shadows on the walls, and I felt a sense of contentment wash over me. These simple pleasures, shared laughter, the thrill of creating something together were healing for us both. As the season progressed, we hiked through trails adorned with autumn colors, the leaves crunching beneath our feet as we ventured deeper into nature. Ben's laughter filled the air as he ran ahead, his excitement infectious. I watched him embrace the beauty around him, his spirit lifting as he breathed in the crisp, cool air. We stumbled upon a hidden grove, where the trees formed a natural archway, and I couldn't help but smile at the wonder on his face. It's like a secret world, he said, his voice filled with awe. I never would have imagined something like this. In those moments, I felt the shadows of his past slowly fading, replaced by the light of new experiences. Yet, the struggle wasn't entirely behind us. There were moments when the weight of his journey pressed down on him. One chilly evening, as we snuggled under a blanket on the couch, I could sense the tension in his body. I turned to him, concern etched on my face. Hey, what's going on? You seem quiet tonight. He hesitated, staring at the flickering flames in the fireplace. I'm afraid of losing you, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. You've been my rock through all of this, and I don't want to drag you down with my struggles. My heart ached at his words. You won't lose me, Ben. I'm here for you, and I'm not going anywhere. We're in this together. He looked at me, his expression vulnerable yet earnest. But what if I can't move on? What if I keep holding on to the past? I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. It's okay to acknowledge the past, but it doesn't have to define your future. You're stronger than you realize, and I believe in you. Let's continue to create memories together. That's how we'll move forward. He nodded, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. Thank you for being patient with me. I don't know what I would do without you. The warmth of his gratitude filled the space between us, and I leaned closer, wrapping my arms around him. In those quiet moments, I felt the depth of our connection, the bond we had forged through love and understanding. As we settled into a comfortable silence, I realized that our journey was far from linear. It would be filled with ups and downs, moments of joy intertwined with moments of struggle. But through it all, we were learning to navigate the complexities of our lives together, creating a tapestry woven from the threads of our experiences. Autumn eventually gave way to winter, and the world outside transformed into a wonderland of glistening snow. The beauty of the season only deepened our bond, as we found warmth in each other's presence during the colder months. Each new experience brought us closer, allowing us to explore the depths of our connection while celebrating the beauty of the world around us. As I looked back on our journey, I felt a profound sense of gratitude for the love we had cultivated, a love that was resilient, patient, and full of hope. I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, hand in hand, with unwavering strength and love. As winter settled in, the world outside transformed into a quiet, snowy landscape, a stark contrast to the vibrant autumn we had just experienced. The first snowflakes danced gently from the sky, coating everything in a soft, white blanket. It was beautiful and serene, and I found myself in awe of the way the world looked under the shimmering frost. I watched as Ben stepped outside for the first time after a heavy snowfall, his eyes lighting up with wonder at the sight before him. He seemed to drink in the scene with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. "It's like a dream," he murmured, taking a tentative step forward, his boots crunching in the snow. The laughter of children playing nearby filled the air, and I could see a childlike glee spreading across his face. This was a moment I had longed for since the day he regained his sight, the pure, unfiltered joy of experiencing something new and magical. As he bent down to scoop up a handful of snow, I felt a wave of happiness wash over me. It was a reminder of how far we had come and how much we had shared in this journey together. "Let's make a snowman," I suggested, the enthusiasm bubbling up within me. He grinned at me, the sparkle in his eyes matching the twinkling snowflakes around us. Together, we began rolling snowballs, laughing as we competed to see who could make the biggest one. Ben's laughter echoed through the stillness of the neighborhood, a sound so precious and full of life. As we stacked the snowballs one on top of the other, I marveled at how this simple act brought us closer. It felt like we were reclaiming the innocence of childhood, building memories that would anchor us in our love for one another. Once the snowman was complete, we adorned him with a carrot for a nose, buttons for eyes, and an old scarf I had found in the closet. I stepped back to admire our handiwork, the sight filling me with a sense of accomplishment. Ben looked at our creation and burst into laughter, his joy infectious. "I think he needs a name," he exclaimed. "How about Frosty?" "Perfect," I replied, grinning widely. In that moment, as we stood side by side in the winter wonderland we had created, I felt a profound sense of connection between us. It was a bond forged not just in shared experiences but in the very essence of who we were as individuals. But as the days turned into weeks, the beauty of winter brought with it challenges that tested our resolve. The holidays approached, and I could sense a growing sense of melancholy in Ben. The season was filled with memories of gatherings, warmth, and togetherness, but it was also a reminder of what he had lost during his years of blindness. The glimmer of lights decorating our home felt dimmer against the weight of his memories, and I could see him wrestling with the joy and sorrow intertwined in his heart. One evening, as we prepared to decorate our small Christmas tree, I noticed his expression darken. "What's wrong?" I asked, concern creeping into my voice. He hesitated, searching for the right words. "I love the holidays, but sometimes it feels like a reminder of everything I missed," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I want to feel joy, but I can't shake the feeling of loss." My heart ached for him, for the emotional struggle he was facing. "It's okay to feel that way," I said softly. "You're allowed to grieve what you've lost, but I want to help you create new memories this holiday season. Let's focus on what we can do together, what we can build moving forward." He nodded, but I could still see the shadows lingering in his eyes. Determined to uplift his spirits, I suggested we invite friends over for a small holiday gathering. "We can make it cozy, just the two of us and a few close friends. We'll bake cookies, drink hot cocoa, and share stories," I proposed, trying to ignite a spark of excitement. To my relief, he smiled at the idea, and I could see the flicker of enthusiasm returning. "That sounds wonderful," he said, his voice brightening. We set to work planning the gathering, baking an array of cookies that filled our home with the sweet scent of cinnamon and chocolate. As we rolled out dough, laughter filled the kitchen, and I felt a sense of warmth spreading through me. It was a reminder that, despite the challenges we faced, we could still create moments of joy together. The evening of the gathering arrived, and as our friends filtered into our home, I watched as Ben embraced the warmth of their presence. We shared stories and laughter, the air filled with love and camaraderie. Ben seemed to thrive in the energy of the night, his laughter echoing as he engaged with our friends. I felt a surge of gratitude for the connections we had nurtured during our time together, a network of support that enveloped us. As the night wore on, we gathered around the tree, and I handed out the cookies we had baked. Ben took a bite of one and closed his eyes, savoring the flavors. "These are incredible," he said, his smile infectious. In that moment, I realized how much progress he had made, how he was learning to embrace the present while still honoring the past. With each passing day, I saw the shadows of his former life slowly fading, replaced by the light of new experiences. As the holidays came to a close, we exchanged gifts, a tradition I cherished deeply. I had spent hours choosing something meaningful for him, a reflection of the journey we had taken together. When he opened my gift, a beautifully crafted journal, his eyes widened in surprise. "What is this for?" he asked, a mixture of confusion and delight in his voice. "I thought it could be a space for you to write down your thoughts, your experiences, and the memories we're creating together. A way to capture everything you're feeling and experiencing as you navigate this new chapter of your life," I explained. His expression softened, and he pulled me into a warm embrace. "Thank you. This means so much to me." As winter transitioned into spring, the world around us blossomed into color once again. The days grew longer, and I felt a renewed sense of hope and excitement. Ben and I continued to explore new places together, creating memories that would last a lifetime. With each experience, he grew more confident, more at ease in his newfound sight. We ventured to the beach, where he marveled at the vastness of the ocean, the way the waves danced in the sunlight. We spent lazy afternoons picnicking in the park, savoring the warmth of the sun on our skin. It was as if we were both awakening from a long slumber, rediscovering the beauty of life hand in hand. One sunny afternoon, we visited a flower festival, where vibrant blooms filled the air with their sweet fragrance. Ben took my hand as we walked through the rows of flowers, his eyes shining with delight. "It's amazing how much beauty is out here," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "I can't believe I get to experience this now." I smiled, my heart swelling with love for him. "You deserve every bit of this joy, love. You've fought so hard to get here." As we strolled through the festival, I felt the weight of the past lift from our shoulders. We were no longer defined by loss but by the love and resilience we had cultivated together. Each experience became a testament to our strength, a reminder that, together, we could overcome any obstacle. Our journey was not just about Ben regaining his sight, it was about us growing together, embracing each other's vulnerabilities and triumphs. I realized that the bond we shared had transformed, deepened by the trials we had faced and the love we had nurtured. In those moments, I understood that love is not just a feeling, it's an unwavering commitment to stand by one another, to navigate life's complexities together. And as we walked hand in hand through the vibrant blossoms of spring, I felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey we had undertaken. It was a journey filled with love, hope, and the promise of a beautiful future, a future we would continue to build together, one day at a time.